YouTube says it has had enough of vaccine misinformation on its site.
And false stories from phony sites to run circles around major news outlets.
Many people don't know the difference between something real and something created to deceive them.
Open your eyes.
If you've ever had this feeling that something was terribly wrong with the world that we live in, but you couldn't figure out just what it was, then you've come to the right place. Secret societies, mystery religions, and the Illuminati have been controlling our reality since the beginning of time. But not anymore, because there is an awakening happening, and you are about to become a part of it. Wake up, because this is a call for an uprising.
This is a call for an uprising. Welcome to today's show. The musician, if you want to call him a musician, or any of these people actually musicians, they're sorcerers, because of course music is a form of spell casting, but the musician who is most known for polluting your ears with poison or making your eardrums bleed, known as Drake, has a new album. And it's important to note this because the album cover is on your screen, and it looks very similar to, well, what we all know as the 666 hand sign, because that's exactly what it is. And I'm going to show you the correlation with this, and of course, the 666 hand sign, which again is no different than a gang sign. We all believe in gang signs. We see gang members throwing up gang signs in movies, and people go, oh, gangs, they have gang signs. But nobody pays attention to Hollywood and politicians who constantly throw up their own gang signs, including the most notorious one, the 666 hand sign. And you'll even see towards the end of this video, so make sure you stick around, how the White House chimed in on this. And of course, the White House making absolutely no qualms whatsoever about it, that this is in fact their logo, the 666 hand sign. That's how crazy the world has gotten. And you can even see in the article, Drake's Iceman is officially here. The Sixth God just shocked the music world. You might say, what is the Sixth God? Well, he refers to himself as the Sixth God. These are some of the things that these people do to get away with using these symbols in front of you, because the internet, because people like me, people have become aware of these signs and symbols because the repetition that they're seeing, because it's being exposed by channels like this, where you can see it over and over and over and over again. You see a pattern and you start to say to yourself, hey, there's something to this. Why are they all holding up these hand signs? Why are they all putting a hand over their eye? It's no different than a gang. But they use examples like this for the Sixth God. They say, well, it's because he's from Toronto and it represents the 416. Huh? The 416? I'm sorry. So that gives you an excuse to hold up a very universal hand sign, which one will correlate with Maga, somebody else would correlate with the OK hand sign, which is clearly the 666 hand sign. And they'll say, well, it's a 416, so that's his excuse, right? Just like basketball players who don't even shoot three-pointers but hold up the 666 hand sign over their eye, as you'll see in this video. People make excuses because they made a three, even though they're doing it in their hotel mirror, like LeBron James and others. The Sixth God himself, Drake, right? So again, we know Freemasons, we know the occult, they refer to themselves as gods because they believe in their own eyes that they are gods among us, which again will tie into some of the owl symbolism that you'll see as well with Drake. But nobody goes, hey, how come if his nickname is the Sixth God, why isn't it the 416 God or the 4 God? Why is it the Sixth God, right? Well, of course we know why it's the Sixth God, and it's such a nerve of all these people to constantly refer to themselves as gods among us. We've seen that as well, Kanye West and his Ye Bible and other things. But again, that goes back to Freemasonry and the occult and the core belief that they have, at the hidden knowledge that they are gods among us. So you look at this hand symbol here, and it's clearly the 666 hand sign. This is the album cover. But is anybody going, well, wait a minute, they used that before, right? Because in years past, I've exposed Drake. Summer 16 was another album cover that Drake released where you could clearly see the 666. You see the 6 right there, right? With an all-seeing eyeball right in the middle. I mean, how much more obvious can it actually get? Which, of course, is another thing we commonly see, right? Not only do they hold up the 666 hand symbol, but they hold it up over their eye, like Drake's doing right here, right? Here he is, doing it right over his eye. And again, that's why you see that eyeball in the back of the dollar bill. That is the all-seeing eye of Lucifer, right? And that's why you also see that eye symbol when it comes to Big Brother and Big Brother watching you, because this, again, is a fallen world led by the fallen ones. And, of course, the fallen one himself, Lucifer. So you can see the 666 hand sign over his eye. He does it over and over and over again. I mean, he's not hiding it, right? He's not hiding it. He's doing it with two hands. He's doing it with one hand. Oh my goodness, he's at a basketball game and he's pointing up to the sky. Looks like he's crapping his pants of the facial expression he's making. And look what happens to be on his shirt, too. He's wearing a shirt that's got the gigantic eyeball with the pyramid on it that you see on the back of the dollar bill, right? And what does it even say on the back of the dollar bill? It says Novus Ordo Seclorum, which translates to a new order of the ages, as in a new world order. Drake is not just a fan of the dollar bill. Yes, these people obviously have lots of money because, of course, when you learn about the occult and how this all works, money just shows up in their bank accounts as long as they're doing what they're told to do in their lives and staying silent. And, of course, the oath of secrecy they all take. These people are obviously rich millionaires. They receive treasure on earth, but not in the afterlife, as they will soon find out. So that is the 666 hand sign, ladies and gentlemen. It is clear as day. If you don't understand how it translates to 666, just look for yourself. You can clearly see the number 6, and then the 3 fingers above are 3 of them, as in 3 sixes. And again, the best way to get this across to people, because they say, oh, that's a coincidence, it's to show them, oh, it's not really them doing it. It's to show them what you're about to see, which is the repetition and the pattern. It breaks spells that have been cast on their minds, right? Most people don't realize that this is happening to them because they don't see the pattern. Repetition is the key to mind control. It's the key to programming people, but it's also the key to unprogramming people when you show them this stuff. So if I showed you these guys, right, I don't even know, who these guys are, right? We got Choppa, Melly, Young Boy. These are hand signs underneath them, right? Now, no regular people would know this, but this is stuff that we see rappers flash and we see real gang members flash, because of course rappers and stuff are a member of the Illuminati. They're a member of real secret societies. These people are a member of street gangs. But look, the Bloods, the Crips, you would see that and you'd be like, oh yeah, that's a gang sign, right? You see this guy as a stock photo of somebody on the streets we're supposed to depict as a gang member. Of course this is stereotypical. This is a stock photo, but if you saw somebody doing that, right, you'd be like, is he doing West Side, East Side? I don't know. He's doing some type of gang hand sign, right? And again, it goes back to Confucius. Signs and symbols rule the world, not words nor laws. So if we take a look, we'll easily see that, okay, well, gang members do those things. Well, so do celebrities. Look at Beyonce doing the 666 hand sign. She's shouting out to Drake. Is she shouting out to Maga? Is she saying things are going to be okay? How about this headshot of Robert Downey Jr., right? Another Freemason doing the 666 hand sign. Now, all these guys, you can find them doing all the symbols as I've exposed over the years on my website. You can find all those videos on the website. And I highly recommend people join the website to go through these things and educate yourself on just simple stuff to wake up, like signs and symbols if you're new to all this. It's the easiest way to start your awakening process, which is why I started the channel in the first place, but of course I've had difficulty remaining on platforms like YouTube. So he's doing the 666 hand sign. You can go back. There's Paul McCartney doing it. Right? And John Lennon doing the devil horns and many other things I've exposed with the Beatles, who are a creation of the Tavistock Institute. They're really the first social engineers who were released to all of us, along with Elvis, who you see momentarily, doing the same signs and symbols, who were there to see if they could actually manipulate the public and persuade them politically with how they dress, how they act, idolization, all those things that came from the Tavistock Institute. The Beatles were one of the first big ones that they released. That's what the Beatles are. And you'll see a lot of the album covers that feature Aleister Crowley, as I've shown you in breakdowns of the Beatles before, as well as dead babies, right? The depiction of babies on the album covers. Just disgusting stuff that nobody talks about when it comes to the Beatles, because most people idolize them. And there's even people to this day who will come to this video and they'll be like, yeah, Drake's a Satanist and all stuff, but they don't want to believe that the Beatles are because they grew up on the Beatles. This is the problem that we have, is that people won't release themselves from the mind prison they're under because they still like some of these things. Well, I liked Elvis growing up. Well, I liked the Beatles. Well, tough. We all liked something until we woke up to what was going on, and then we separated ourselves from the world, which is what the Bible tells us to do, to not be of this world and to not worship idols. And people just pretend that they don't worship these people, but they do in reality, by constantly singing their praises or playing their spellcasting music, right? We all know, again, about the backmasking with the Beatles. Let's move on. We have The Rock doing it in just an Instagram post, right? What's the meaning of it, right? Isn't he supposed to be politically, aware? Hey, I don't want to jump into politics. I'm The Rock. I'm too popular in my movies. When somebody say it's the Maga sign that he's doing, right? He's doing the 666 hand sign, right in this Instagram post. And again, I've exposed The Rock in the past with his talking about adrenochrome, which I'll get into in this video as well. Let's move on, right? You get this guy from Virgin Atlantic, right? One of the richest people alive, Sir Richard Branson. You look at some of these guys and you can just tell some of the deviant acts they've been involved in. Obviously, guys like Kevin Spacey. And we can get into the whole picture here. Kevin Spacey's on this collage. Look at the collage here. We have collages of these people over and over. Lady Gaga, not people you would depict with being good people. People you would depict as witches, right? Madonna on here as well. Drake is on there. Bono, Jack Nicholson, you name them. They all do it. Right? And you see the repetition here, all of them, Leonardo DiCaprio and Johnny Depp and Lil Wayne, who has a direct connection to Drake's butthole. I mean, to Drake's music career, right? Because remember, these guys are hard rappers. They're supposed to represent, oh man, they came up in the rough edges. Yeah, they came up in the rough edges, right? All right. Born right inside of the Hershey fudge packing factories. But anyway, you got Beyonce again doing the 666 over the eye, Justin Bieber, right? All of them, because they're all in the club, and you go on and on and on. Harrison Ford, you'd say, why is he doing that? Justin Timberlake, right? A lot of these people who come through Disney originally, right? Because we all know, of course, if you're not familiar, another thing you can wake up to on the website is Disney's connection to this and child grooming and sacrifice. CIA headquarters, of course, underground at Disney World. This is where a lot of the mind control programming began. With all these Disney films, most adults, of course, do not want to accept this because they grew up on Disney and they don't realize that they were under mind control themselves and still are, and that's what Disney programming is. And they obviously indoctrinate you with Magic Kingdom, all the stories, the themes are about magic, but you have to. You look at the connections to Walt Disney, probably one of the biggest pedos who's ever walked the earth. His connection to the DeMolay, which again is the Freemasons' way to groom young boys, just like the Eastern Star Witches, which is a Freemason form for females, groom young girls with Job's daughters and Rainbow Girls. So this is how this whole thing works. Okay, it's a giant network of Satanists and occultists who are right in front of our faces. You just have to accept this as reality because it is. You know, the Pope doing the 666 handstand. Of course, we have Oprah, who obviously most people know is a Satanist by now, but when I first started this, people were like, not Oprah, she can't be in on it. Well, people finally woke up to Oprah, and again, back to someone like Elvis, who's doing it just like the Beatles, who, again, was one of the, well, they call them the founding fathers of mind control, because really these were the characters that were released by the government to see how they could persuade and manipulate the public. Of course, Elvis had a big role in the polio vaccines, which most people dismiss because they go, well, polio is different than COVID with the vaccine. No, it's not at all. In fact, polio was responsible for a lot of shedding and a lot of people getting sick and dying as well. And Elvis was used to not only be this sex symbol and this worshipped idol, but then, of course, he moved and veered into things like doing ads so people would go and get vaccinated. Does it sound familiar? So what all your celebrities just did to the entire world a couple years ago, and every one of them was posting fake videos of themselves getting vaccinated with saline shots, right? Same exact thing. It all goes back to people like Elvis and the Beatles. Then you get like the LeBron Jameses of the world who they don't hide their affiliation to the occult. Even as I've broken down the past, his little ritual he does before each game. It's a cult. I mean, the dance that he does, the throwing up of the smoke, but they do the 666 hand sign right over their eyes. And you might say, well, it's because he made a 3. Oh, yeah, he's in his hotel room right here. He's taking a dump. What do you do? Take 3 of them? I mean, he's got a hand right over his eye. James Harden, right? Another scrub, washed up basketball. Here he is doing it, right? All of them are in on it. Most of them have it tattooed on their bodies, the all-seeing eye with the pyramid, like Luka Doncic, all these guys. They're all a part of the club, okay? John Cena. Right, or all these people, all these celebrities who are doing it. As you go back to John Cena, there's fans of John Cena. He says it means hustle, loyalty, respect, right? His creepy affiliation with the Make-A-Wish Foundation, right? Like I've said before, they all hide behind philanthropy, and they do all these kids' charities so that when people like me expose them, oh, you're a horrible person. What have you done? He's done this. They've done that, because they worship these idols, and they'll defend them until the day they die. And that's what idol worship actually is, right? Yeah, it's just a 40, 50-year-old man with no kids who's hanging around other people's sick kids. Yeah, there's nothing strange about that at all. And his symbol that he indoctrinates the kids to use and throw up happens to be throw up, and literally makes me want to throw up, but throw up in the air. Let the kids copy him. Throw it up, the 666 hand sign, right? Antichrist, worship. Look at this. I mean, it's holding it up over and over. So back to Drake before we get into MAGA, because it's important to see what the White House posted. Again, we've seen Drake with the owl, right? The owl, of course, we see at Bohemian Grove. He's got the owl On his shirt, he has his October's very own. This is one of their deceitful practices that they do. Oh, the owl represents October's very own call. Why are you saying that it depicts the owl from Bohemian Grove? And obviously, the owl has a lot of occult tie-ins, as I've broken down over you. Oh no, yeah, it has everything to do with October's very own. Why didn't somebody tell me the affiliation with an owl and October? Huh? Why? Because it's spooky. Because it's sacrifice season for Samhain. I mean, give me a break. Right? Utter joke, right? And again, the owl goes back to Bohemian Grove. The owl associated with the occult and silence and wisdom, right? Forbidden knowledge, sorcery, okay? It's very big in witchcraft, okay? Linked to witches and sorcerers in some traditions. The word for witch and barn owl come from the same root word, striga. Okay, hidden knowledge and spirit and esoteric practices, which is what they're all about. We've seen Drake do the pyramid hand sign. Again, what is he in Rockefeller? I mean, the excuses that people make, this is what you have to separate their minds from, because they're trained to automatically go, oh, he's doing the Rockefeller sign. Well, is he a part of the Rockefeller brand? Is any of these guys who constantly hold it up? No, they're not, right? And where do we see the pyramid? Of course, we see it on the back of the dollar bill. We see it associated with the Illuminati and the occult. We see him doing devil horns over and over and over. And what a surprise. He's openly a member of the Synagogue of Satan, as you can see him here with his cute little tiny hat on his head. And of course, that's not just a skit that he's doing on Saturday Night Live. He is, in fact, what they call an Ashkenazi. And if you research that and you go to the book of Revelation, where it specifically tells us what? Well, in the book of Revelation, chapter 2, verse 9, I know thy works and tribulation and poverty, but thou art rich, and I know that blasphemy of them which say they are Jews and are not, but are the synagogue of Satan. And if you look at the Ashkenazi, well, you quickly figure out that there are those who claim that they are one thing, and they are not. And they're all around Hollywood and all around politics, and of course, they're doing everything they can to make sure that you can't say that, because it's anti-Semitic, because, of course, if you say those types of things, well, the truth will be revealed, and the same thing that has happened in the past will happen again, where people wake up, they realize who's responsible for all these things, the division, the horrors going on in the world, the genocides, and then they go, wait, these people aren't even what they claim. They're protected by this word that we've created and instilled in people's mind because we put them in institutions at a young age and beaten it into their head that they're victims. So how could you question them even though they're responsible for all of it, right? It's no different than if you were sitting in school defending serial killers who, again, go through this, all these serial killers as I've broken down, all connected to the CIA, by the way. Guys like Ted Bundy, Charles Manson, all these guys connected to the CIA. But if I told you, hey, we're defending them and defending their crimes, you'd say, well, there's something wrong with that. People say, how can you defend these guys? They've committed murder. You'd say, well, they're defended because of this word, serial killer Semitic. How dare you say anything bad about these serial killers? And we'll beat it in your brain so that you can't say anything bad about them, and we'll defend them. The sick part is there's actually people in this world that glorify these serial killers now, which shows you how sick our society has actually become. But back on topic here to the hand sign, right? So what in the world does Drake have to do with Donald Trump in the White House? We'd all think nothing, right? We know all of these musicians and celebrities have to align with the Democratic Party. This is all part of the mind control, right? I've mentioned before. You get a couple Republican celebrities who are all like D-level actors for the most part. But what is the correlation here? Well, nobody really knows, right? But now they're showing you right in front of your face because the White House tweeted out, iced out, with that 666 hand sign. And in fact, they've added Maga bling to it. So it's their way of saying, well, that's our symbol that Drake's using there, that 666 hand sign. That's ours. We're taking it back. Don't you dare use that, Drake. That's us. We're the devil worshippers here in MAGA. Just our audience is too dumb to realize it because they're idol worshiping Donald Trump, because they're in a mass hypnosis over all the stuff that they've watched in the news, which has all been produced no different than a movie's produced, to feel a certain way about Democrats and get all riled up about all the fake stories they put out there about trans being in libraries and on White House front lawns, doing LGBT, right? Getting them all worked up to the point that they're actually worshiping the devil himself in Donald Trump because both parties are working together to do everything that's going on. And Donald Trump shows you his affiliation with Satan and the occult, right? So this symbol they're laying claim to. That's what this post means by AIing in the MAGA chain. It just makes it even more ridiculous. This is the White House, by the way. Just imagine, like, in the 70s or 80s. I mean, I know it's hard to imagine because of the tech, But an affiliation, let's just even go back to Reagan, right? And he's got a thing, and we're talking politics, and then he's all of a sudden he's talking about Bon Jovi, and he's like, I'm tweeting out Bon Jovi's album cover and making a joke. I mean, it's ridiculous. It shows you how dumbed down people are that they can pull people in this easily. But nobody pays attention to what they're trying to say, the messaging, right? What's the messaging? Well, the 666 hand sign. And them adding the MAGA chains, their way of saying, look, Drake's MAGA because he's doing the MAGA symbol that Trump does, which is the 666 hand sign, right? We saw these influencers I've exposed, like this flamer who used to get rolled out, Milo, and he does the 666 hand sign, even took a blood bath. And we have people defending him. Why? Because they don't realize they're communists. The conservatives think that we're free thinkers, we're smarter than them, we know about the Pizzagate and all this other stuff. No, you don't really know what's going on because you believe that your vote counts. And you believe that these people, they're actually on your side. This guy's taking a bloodbath in front of you, and people are going, oh no, he's on our team. Well, if it's a team and it's a party, then guess what? You're a communist, okay? You're just a Republican communist versus a Democrat one, right? This other scumbag, Jack Posobiec, who's the worst, absolute worst, who came onto the scene around Pizzagate, hijacked a lot of the information that people like me were exposing, getting millions of views at the time. Jeff C., so many of us who were night and day, literally going through, the stores on that street, the Instagram posts. I mean, it was insane, right? This guy showed up at the restaurant there. Next thing you know, he's one of the faces of the Republican National Party, right? Media-wise, right? Remember, all these characters got put in place to replace people like myself and other truthers because people were waking up to the left-right divide. So they put these characters in there. They got them to talk a little bit about conspiracy, even though it's way over their head, because they don't know anything about really anything. They're just plants who are obviously in on it. And they start talking about pedophiles and Pizzagate. And then people go, oh, I'm going to go this way. I'm going to follow this Jack Posobiec. And then they keep them stuck in the political hive mind, which is what this is all about. So all the followers, because of the Posobiec, because it's Trump, because of Milo, you see them go to these events, and what do? They hold up the 666 hand sign, right? Like little sheeple, all of them in the crowd holding it up, right? Because that's the MAGA symbol now. The 666 hand sign became the MAGA symbol. We even had articles, how the alt-right trolls hijacked the OK sign. Well, it's not really the OK sign. It's the 666 hand sign, right? And if we go back, again, to this image, there's another thing that's worth noting because of the fact that he's wearing a whitish, silverish, sparkly glove. If you look at it, I mean, it reminds you of something else, right? With the black background. You ever seen, somebody doing hand puppets or hand things in the shadows to amuse kids, right? The bunny rabbit, right? This is the hand symbol you would use for the bunny rabbit, which also happens to be another very prominent symbol in the occult. Now, why is the bunny rabbit a symbol in the occult? That innocent little rabbit that could be in your yard eating some of your vegetables or fruits? Well, because the elements, right? We know that, remember we grew up and we had to learn the elements, right? And isn't it crazy how alchemy and elements are all tied into sorcery and witchcraft? Well, the element, the sign for, the symbol for, or I guess I should say the chemical formula is what represents the rabbit. Because look, you see how it makes rabbit ears at the top? This is how they work, right? You see that? See how easy, right? Looks like a bunny rabbit. Okay, that's why you always see it. That's why Drake and Bad Bunny have another album cover. Again, Drake's obsession with bunny rabbits, with the 666, right? Just had an album with the rabbit ears on it, with the demonic eyes of a rabbit, right? Because of the adrenochrome. And I say that so the algorithm doesn't pick it up and immediately delete the video, right? And that's why you see people like Macaulay Culkin, right? Bunny ears. He's got podcast bunny ears. He walks around wearing bunny ears. He goes on late show television interviews wearing it. Nobody's like, what's wrong with this guy? Would you go if you were invited on Jimmy Fallon or some show for whatever reason? Maybe you rescued someone in a car crash and you got a call like, we want to bring you on the late show. And you might be like, oh, but he's Illuminati. All right, maybe I'll just go on there. How it's once in a lifetime I'm on TV. Would you wear rabbit ears on there? Would you dress up as a bunny rabbit? No, you probably wouldn't, right? People would say it's weird, but with celebrities, they get away with this stuff because nobody can decode the meanings behind them, right? It's the same thing with Macaulay Culkin, again, who had connections to Michael Jackson and was a famous child growing up in Hollywood, so you know what that automatically means, right? Getting passed around Hollywood. Who also has a band called Underground Pizza, which again was pre-Pizzagate until people realized what pizza represented and why there were shows like Ninja Turtles would use pizza for energy because of adrenochrome, right? Very easy to figure out once you're actually awake. But yeah, it's a coincidence too with Macaulay, right? Just like all of them. Robert Downey, you just saw him doing the 666, dressed as a rabbit, right? Oh, but it's Easter. Oh, it's Easter, so we all get dressed up as bunny rabbits, right? Awkwardly and strangely when we have kids who are in their 20s or 30s. It's not like he's got like a newborn kid and he's like, I better dress up as a rabbit I'm going to do it for my kid to make my kid smile, right? No, this is what they do. They post it on their Instagram account because signs and symbols rule the world and they all communicate with one another this way, right in front of you because you're too dumbed down to realize what they're doing. Why J-Lo posts this on her Instagram. Oh, sexy bunny ears, J-Lo and its penis. I mean, J-Lo on its couch, right? Wearing rabbit ears. And you go on, Beyonce, all the same people that you see doing the 666, the all-seeing eye, right? Dressing up as bunnies because they all just love Easter, right? They love Ishtar. They're supposedly, and again, I mean, we know Easter isn't really about Jesus Christ's resurrection. We know it's obviously pagan Easter, I'm saying in general. You might celebrate it yourself for the resurrection, obviously, but Easter, Ishtar, right? These aren't people who that come out and say that they're Christians. So what are they celebrating Easter for, right? Rihanna in her apartment, bunny ears. Katy Perry, as demonic as they get. Many pictures with devil ears and even monarch butterflies. In fact, walking the streets wearing rabbit ears, no big deal. Nobody's suspicious because they're celebrities. They're allowed to do weird stuff, right? Right? At some point, it's going to get two people who are like, they're celebrities. They're allowed to drink children's blood. They're weird. It gives them energy. Right? That's how ridiculous this is getting in our society, where these people get a free pass. Channing Tatum many times with the rabbits I've shown and broken down, even in his movie that I broke down, which happened to be about have the all-seeing eye right on the cover, and he had the island where they were doing the human sacrifice, right? Who else? We get Madonna, the ultimate witch, many times with rabbit ears. Just loves rabbits. Dresses as a rabbit, right? Dressing here as a rabbit, there as a rabbit, right? It'd be nice if Madonna could pretend for once to be a woman, but it seems a little difficult for her, or at least not a demon. And, of course, Lady Barfbag, everyone's favorite, right? Wearing rabbit ears. Again, even doing it with her hands, which shows you how obvious all this stuff actually is, because it represents that red liquid that they love. And Lady Gaga doesn't hide it, right? There she is with Marina Abramovich, of course, this infamous photo. Now, it appears to be a corpse laying in a pool of blood. And, well, this is what these psychopaths do. They have galas, tell you it's art, and then you're supposed to go eat out of it, because that's appealing to everyone, right? And there's Gaga eating and tasting a sample there. We're told that it's just some type of glaze or honey. No, it probably is real actual blood if you know how these people operate, because they will do this right in front of your face and just get away with it because they know you're too dumb to do anything about it or to actually believe that they would be drinking blood. We got, I believe, Sabrina Carpenter, I got the name wrong here, dressed up, and I use this photo as well because this also ties into Playboy, right? Because that's the rabbit that we see, right? And they get away with, oh, the rabbit, Playboy bunny, right? So maybe he's making the rabbit to make it look like the Playboy bunny, but nobody ever talks about the connection between Playboy and MK Ultra, right? The porn industry exploded, right? NSA, National Security Agency, China Lake in California provided an assembly line of mind control slaves for estimated $4 billion annual revenues. I have tons of articles and things out there that you could read or see on the website about Playboy, the underground tunnels connected to the Playboy Mansion, Hugh Hefner's direct connection to the CIA, and again, during the Vietnam War, how Playboy was actually going out there and entertaining. Remember, they were entertaining people in Vietnam? Oh, the poor soldiers over there, right? Well, yeah, the poor soldiers who got drafted, who should have, who didn't know what was going on and lost their lives. I mean, don't even need to get me started on that stuff. People going to war, fighting wars. These wars that don't even exist. They're literally going over there to sacrifice themselves for their government under the illusion of war. But, okay, they're over there and they go, hey, we're going to send some Playboy bunnies to entertain these guys. Everyone's like, that's great. Playboy, yay, cheer for Hugh Hefner, right? Well, you know what they're doing over there? They're bringing back babies from Vietnam. Yeah, stranded babies, taking babies from some of the parents over in Vietnam. What do you think happened to those babies? Do you know where they are in the world today? They get raised at the Playboy Mansion. Oh, they went underground in the basement at the Playboy Mansion, ended up at the homes of people like Warren Beatty probably, right? That's what Playboy is, and that's what Playboy has been doing. So we go back and we connect Playboy, we connect the 666, right? And we connect the adrenochrome. You say, well, the White House has posted this, right? But they don't hear anybody talking about anything other than the Epstein story, which again, I've talked about. The big story with Epstein should be connected to eugenics and his connection to guys like Musk and DARPA, right? And how he works with companies like CRISPR, all these companies that are practicing gene editing. So if your obsession is eugenics and transhumanism, and you're inviting guys like Gates, Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos. They're all heading over to his house. And what they were doing is they were breeding with these young children. So yeah, there's truth behind the whole story, but the stuff that they give you is to make you look one way and not pay attention to what they were really doing with eugenics and COVID, the vaccine, and gene editing, okay? Because that's what they were doing in practice. So we look at all this stuff, then we look at Trump, right? And all the pictures of him with Epstein, and all the MAGA guys just go, release the files, right? But it's just photograph after photograph of them together, and they go, yeah, that doesn't make him guilty, right? But it makes somebody else guilty. When they see a picture of him with, I don't know, Tom Hanks or somebody like that, they want that person thrown in jail, but not Trump. Trump didn't know because Trump told you he didn't know, right? It's incredible how they defend this guy. And then he can even put up the image of the 666 hand sign and use it as his MAGA symbol. And these cult worshipers give him a free pass. Pretty incredible, right? So there was a little bit of pushback. Some people didn't like the fact that he put that up, but we all know that's the MAGA symbol that's associated with MAGA is the 666 hand sign. So I want to do a video on it for you. And again, the tie-ins with the red liquid sauce, because you could see how clearly Drake was also trying to make it look like a rabbit. That's why he's wearing the glove, and that's why it looks that way, because it looks like a bunny rabbit, right? As well, a shadow, the shadow figure that you would do if you were trying to make a rabbit on the wall to entertain a 2-year-old, right? Well, ironically, the people's brains who follow people like Drake or worship people like Donald Trump, they have less developed brains than an actual 2-year-old. I thank everybody for being here. I hope you're all doing well. God bless you and your families as always.